I got divorced and moved overseas. My ex-wife immediately married her new guy, big wedding, 200 guests, everything she'd always wanted. I was 4,000 miles away, rebuilding my life in peace. My own kids didn't understand. My son defended her, called me bitter. My daughter was the only one who saw the truth. Then during her reception, a guest stood up and said one line that exposed everything. The video went viral. 3 million views in 24 hours. Her perfect wedding collapsed in real time. 8 hours later, she called screaming completely out of control. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Quick question before we start. Where are you tuning in from? Leave your location in the comments. I'd love to know. Fair warning. This story contains fictionalized elements designed for education and impact. Any similarity to actual people or places is coincidental. But trust me, the lessons, the truth behind it all, those are 100% real. Now let's get into it. My name's Graham Foster. I'm 56 years old, and this is the story of how I learned that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. It started in Austin, Texas, in a house that looked perfect from the outside. $3.2 million in Westlake Hills. Limestone facade, hill country, views interior, decorated like a magazine spread. My ex-wife Blair had made it beautiful. She was good at that interior designer to Austin's wealthy. She had a gift for making spaces perfect and people small. 30 years I spent in that marriage. 30 years watching the standards change every time I got close to meeting them. The living room redecorated 3 times in 2 years because the aesthetic didn't reflect who we are anymore. My favorite chair disappeared to storage without discussion. At dinner parties, she'd wince when I chose the wrong wine, then laugh it off with guests while I felt 6 inches tall. By year 28, I was sleeping in my home office. By year 29, I'd stopped trying to guess which version of perfect she wanted. I just knew I was failing at being it. We had 2 kids. Riley, 27 forensic accountant in Seattle Sharp, saw through her mother years ago. Austin, 24 financial analyst in Boston Smart, but bought into Blair's version where I was the problem. Cold, distant, emotionally unavailable. All her words in his mouth. The heart attack came October 23rd. Minor but real. I was in the kitchen. Blair was repainting an accent wall, explaining why the previous beige was builder grade, and the new beige was sophisticated. My chest tightened, that elephant on ribs feeling they talk about. I drove myself to the ER. Blair couldn't come. The painter needed supervision. The cardiologist used the word stress 14 times. I counted. He leaned back, looked at my chart, then at me. Mr. Foster, your heart is sending a message. Are you listening? I was listening. Lying in that hospital bed, staring at beige walls, I realized something. I could die in that house, and Blair wouldn't notice until my body blocked her closet. That's not bitterness. That's truth. We'd stopped seeing each other as people years ago. To her, I was a prop that kept breaking character. Riley came to the hospital, held my hand, didn't say much. Austin called brief, distant. Asked if I was okay. I said yes. He said good, and hung up. I heard Blair in the background, always so dramatic. The discharge nurse was kind, had that look medical people get when they know the real problem isn't on the chart. Take care of yourself, Mr. Foster, she said quietly. You're the only one who can. Driving home, I took the long way through downtown, watched the sunset paint the limestone buildings gold. I'd built a software company here, sold it 2 years ago for $8.5 million, created something real, something that worked. But I couldn't build a marriage that didn't require me to disappear. That night, Blair knocked on my office door. Are you coming to bed? Working, I said. She sighed that particular sigh that meant disappointment, and left. I lay on the leather couch, hand on chest, feeling my heartbeat. Still here, still ticking. The question was simple. Did I want to survive, or did I want to live? The heart attack was minor. The wake-up call was massive. Lying in that hospital bed, I'd realized I'd spent 3 decades making myself smaller, so Blair could shine brighter. My body had just given me a warning I couldn't ignore. The choice was mine. The discharge paperwork took 20 minutes. I signed each page carefully, my hand steadier than it had been in years. Walking out into October sunlight, I realized I'd already made the decision. I just hadn't executed it yet. Blair picked me up, talked the entire drive about the painter's incompetence, how the accent wall still wasn't right. I watched Austin roll past the window and knew I was already gone. That night I opened my laptop and started planning the way I'd planned every business deal, methodically, quietly leaving nothing to chance. 6 months. That's what I gave myself, November through January. The software company sale had left me $4.2 million after taxes. I created an irrevocable family trust, $2.1 million, Riley as trustee. Her name only. Blair couldn't touch it. $850,000 went into separate accounts, legal, documented, liquid. Offshore investments, bonds. My passive income would cover $55,000 a year. Lisbon expenses would run $3,500 a month. The math worked. The house was trickier, worth $1.3 million mortgage-free. I refinanced it, took out $890,000. Blair signed where I told her to sign, never ask questions. Money was my job. Being invisible was my job. Now the house had $410,000 in equity and an $890 mortgage attached. I left her the house, the cars, the furniture, everything she'd perfected, and the debt that came with it. Portugal's D7 visa required proof of passive income. I qualified easily. Found an apartment online, Alfama District, Riverview, €1,200 monthly. Set up international banking, health insurance, learned enough Portuguese to order coffee. December, I told Riley over dinner, laid out everything, the trust, the plan, the date. She listened, then squeezed my hand. Dad, you should have done this years ago. I know. Austin's going to lose it. I know that too. She traced her wineglass rim. I'll handle things here. He'll come around eventually. I didn't tell Austin. At 24, he still believed his mother's version of reality. Maybe he needed to. Divorce papers filed quietly through my attorney. Blair would be served after I left. January 15th arrived like any other Tuesday. 5 a.m. I dressed in darkness, carried 2 suitcases downstairs. 30 years fit into 2 bags. I left the divorce papers on the kitchen counter under a coffee mug. House keys on top. Note, everything's yours. I'm gone. The mortgage is current. G. The Uber came at 5:30. No ceremony. I just closed the door and left. At the airport, I called Riley. It's done. Good. Text when you land. Take care of your brother. Always do. The flight went through Newark, 12 hours total. Somewhere over the Atlantic, drinking terrible airplane coffee, I watched sunrise paint, clouds gold. My chest didn't hurt. I wasn't carrying 30 years anymore. By the time Blair found my note, I was over the ocean. Riley would call, explain what she could. Austin would be angry. But I'd spent 3 decades trying to be enough for Blair. I wouldn't spend another day proving myself to anyone. 6 months later, her new marriage would force another choice: protect my son or stay silent. I chose truth. The Lisbon morning came with church bells and the smell of espresso drifting up from Pedro's cafe below. 5 months in, I'd built a routine I didn't recognize in the best way. No alarms, no performance, no one asking me to be smaller. My apartment in Alfama had terracotta tiles and a balcony overlooking the Tagus, where ships passed like they had somewhere to be. Mornings I'd swim at Belém, then walk to Pedro's for breakfast. He was 60-something, patient with my Portuguese, never asked about my past. That's what I liked about Lisbon. Nobody cared who you used to be. I'd taken up painting. Badly, then less badly. Joined a Tuesday art class in Graça. My blood pressure dropped to 118/72. I slept 8 hours a night. Lost 15 pounds without trying. The $850,000 was managed conservatively. Expenses ran $3,400 monthly. I was comfortable, content even. Riley called every Sunday, thriving in Seattle, promoted twice. Austin hadn't called once. Riley said he needed time. I gave him space. That Tuesday in June, I was sketching roof lines at Pedro's when my phone buzzed. Instagram DM from Scott Turner, college friend lost touch 20 years ago. His profile showed him graying, holding a golden retriever, looking satisfied. The message was short. Hey Graham, long shot, but thought you should know. Blair's getting married next month. Guy named Preston Montgomery owns restaurants around Austin. Big vineyard wedding up in Hill Country. Figured you'd want a heads up. Take care, man. I read it twice. Set my phone down, picked up my espresso, felt nothing but curiosity, the way you're curious about a movie you walked out of halfway through. Typed back, thanks for the heads up. I'm good, really good. Then I opened my laptop. Preston Montgomery's Instagram was public. 300,000 followers. 3 restaurants. Montgomery's Prime. The Preston House, Bella Vista. Photos of luxury cars that changed every post. Designer suits Blair on his arm at charity events. Engagement announcement, when you know you know. Wedding venue tagged Dutchman Family Winery, Hill Country. I scrolled my CEO brain, doing what it did, looking for patterns, checking foundations. 3 restaurants in 18 months. Aggressive expansion. Required massive capital. or serious leverage. I pulled up Texas business filings. Public record. Montgomery Restaurant Group, LLC. Revenue looked solid $12 million annually, but the UCC filings told a different story. Credit lines maxed $2.3 million with one bank, $1.8 with another. Equipment financing fully extended. Then county records, supplier liens, food distributors, wine suppliers filing claims for unpaid invoices. I sat back watching tourists pass Pedro's, their laughter mixing with Portuguese conversations I half understood. Preston's empire looked impressive on the surface. Perfect aesthetic lifestyle photo success narrative. But I'd spent 30 years analyzing deals, spotting gaps between claims and proof. The numbers didn't add up. Revenue projections that didn't match expansion costs. Credit lines that screamed cash flow problems. Suppliers not getting paid. Preston's foundation wasn't just weak, it was collapsing, and Blair was about to tie herself to it. 2 days after Scott's message, I was still digging. Not because I wanted Blair to suffer, I'd moved past that. But Austin's name kept showing up in Preston's social media. Tagged photos. Captions calling him my groomsman and brother from another mother. My son was about to publicly endorse a fraud. I'd spent 30 years reading balance sheets. You learn to see what's missing, not just what's there. Preston Montgomery's public filings painted one picture. The gaps between them painted another. Texas Secretary of State records showed 3 LLCs. Montgomery's Prime opened 2022, claimed $4.2 million in annual revenue. The Preston House followed early the 23, $3.8 million. Bella Vista, late 23, $4 million. Total $12 million a year. Impressive numbers. Then I pulled the UCC filings, Uniform Commercial Code, where lenders register their claims. Business credit line with First National, $2.3 million. Maxed. Equipment financing with Capital Southwest, $1.8 million. Maxed. Personal guarantee on both. County records showed supplier liens. Food distributors owed $180,000. Wine suppliers suing for $95,000. These weren't negotiation tactics. These were people not getting paid. The lawsuit was public record. Marcus Webb versus Preston Montgomery, filed April 2024. Webb claimed he'd partnered with Preston in 2022, invested $800,000 to launch Montgomery's Prime. 6 months later, Preston had bought him out for half that amount, then used Webb's connections and remaining investment to open the other 2 locations. Classic structure: use new money to pay old debts, keep expending before anyone notices the foundation's sand. I sat back from my laptop. Through my balcony doors, Lisbon stretched out in afternoon light. Somewhere in Austin, Preston was posting photos of luxury cars and engagement champagne. And somewhere in Boston, my son thought this man was worth emulating. My phone rang. Riley: "Dad, I've been looking into this Preston guy too. And it's worse than you found. I ran his corporate structure through some forensic software we use at work. Revenue discrepancies across all 3 locations. He's reporting $12 million to investors, but probably clearing 6, maybe 7. The rest is accounting fiction." How many investors? 15. Mostly friends and family. Total pool around $2.7 million. Some of these people took out second mortgages to invest with him. I closed my eyes. 15 families about to lose everything because they'd trusted the wrong smile. "There's more," Riley said. "Austin's not just a guest. He's standing up there as a groomsman, his firm's conservative dad. If this goes public with Austin in the wedding photos next to Preston, they'll question his judgment." "Exactly. I tried hinting concerns to him last week. He shut me down, said I was being paranoid, said I sounded just like you. That hurt more than I expected. Riley, I can't control what Blair does, but Austin is about to make a very public mistake. The trial date for Webb's lawsuit is August, 1 month after the wedding. When that hits the news, everyone in those photos is going to be asked questions." After we hung up, I stood on my balcony watching the Tagus catch evening light. I couldn't stop the wedding. Couldn't force Austin to see what he wasn't ready to see, but I could make sure truth had a voice when it mattered most. I scrolled through my contacts, found a name I hadn't called in a decade. Patrick Donovan, event planner based in San Francisco wine country. 10 years ago, I'd helped restructure his business when he was drowning in debt. He'd told me if I ever needed anything, call. I called. "Patrick Donovan." "Patrick, it's Graham Foster." Pause. "Graham, it's been years. How are you?" "I'm good. Living in Portugal now. Listen, I need a favor. I need a name added to a wedding vendor list. Someone with presence. Someone who can ask questions in a room full of people who've stopped asking them. Silence, then a low laugh. You know, Graham, I think I know exactly the right person for that. That same afternoon, we switched to video. Patrick's office had wine country visible through the window, bookshelves lining the walls. He looked like someone who'd survived failure and learned from it. I know the wedding planner at Duckman, Lisa Pierce. We collaborate regularly. What are you thinking? I explained not sabotage, just questions. Someone credible who could raise doubts publicly without hostility. Patrick leaned back. Charles Waverly, retired attorney, 72. He's done expert witness work. Juries trust him instantly. Commanding presence never needs to raise his voice. Can you get him in? I'll add him as my +1 on the vendor liaison list. Cover story old family friend happened to be in the area. I'll vouch personally. Lisa will approve a toast slot, something about honoring traditions. I sent him the filings lawsuit docs timeline. Charles would weave them into questions, not accusations. Make people think, not react. Charles is good at this, Patrick said. Truth without hostility. He'll handle it. After we hung up, I felt something quiet. Purpose. The kind that comes from protecting someone who doesn't know they need it. 3 days later, my phone rang while I was cooking dinner. Lisbon evening, warm balcony doors open to street sounds below. Austin's name stopped me cold. First call since January. Dad? Formal, distant, like I was someone he barely knew. Austin? I'm calling because I think you should know. I'm standing up at Mom's wedding. Preston asked me personally. It's an honor. I turned off the stove. Riley mentioned that. He's a good man, Dad. Successful. Treats Mom right. He's everything. He stopped. Everything you weren't hung in the silence. I'm glad your mother's happy. Are you, because it seems like you just walked away from everything? From us? I gripped the balcony railing. I left a marriage that was destroying my health. Not you or your sister. You left a note, Dad, like quitting a job. That landed hard. Austin, I know you're excited about this wedding. Just promise me something. What? Pay attention. You're good at your job because you verify data check sources. Don't stop doing that because it's family. Silence. Then defensive. What's that supposed to mean? Successful people aren't always what they appear. Ask questions. Look at the foundation. Now, I don't need career advice. Preston's solid. He's built something real. I hope you're right. I have to go. Rehearsal dinner's in a few days. Austin, the line went dead. I stood watching ships cross the Tagus. My pasta was cold. The evening was still beautiful, but my chest felt tight in a way that had nothing to do with my heart. Riley texted, he called you. Yeah. I'm sorry. He'll understand. Eventually after. 3 weeks. Charles had his briefing. Patrick handled logistics. I was 4,000 miles away where Blair's chaos couldn't reach. All I could do was wait. July 17th, 2024. 3 days before the wedding. While Blair and Preston rehearsed their vows in Texas, I was having morning coffee in Lisbon. Riley sent updates throughout their evening, her afternoon, my night. 6:47 p.m. Texas / 12:47 a.m. Lisbon. Arrived at venue. Blair looks nervous, keeps adjusting everything. Preston working the room hard. Lots of confidence. Maybe too much. 7:15 p.m. / 1:15 a.m. Austin's toast during dinner, all about new beginnings and what real success looks like. Didn't mention you once. 7:52 p.m. / 1:52 a.m. Dad, Charles Waverly, just arrived. He's perfect. Mid-70s gray hair, looks like somebody's distinguished grandfather. Suit probably costs more than my car. 8:10 p.m. / 2:10 a.m. Charles introduced himself to Preston as old family friend knew Blair's aunt years ago. Complete fiction, but he sells it beautifully. Preston bought it completely. Shook his hand, welcomed him warmly. 8:34 p.m. / 2:34 a.m. Wedding planner asked Patrick about Charles. Patrick vouched. Charles and I go way back. Wonderful man, very traditional. Asked if he could give a toast, something about honoring old friendships. Lisa approved it. We're in. 9:01 p.m. / 3:01 a.m. Blair just talked to Charles for 10 minutes. She looked confused for maybe 3 seconds. Doesn't remember any aunt, then just smiled and played along. You know how she is. Never admits she doesn't know something. Charles is charming her completely. 9:45 p.m. / 3:45 a.m. Dinner wrapping. Charles mingles like he's done this 100 times. Preston relaxed now, drinking wine arm around Blair. He has no idea. Dad, Austin's going to be crushed tomorrow. You sure about this? My phone rang. 3:50 a.m. Lisbon time. I took it on the balcony, city lights reflecting on the Tagus below. Riley whispering from a parking lot. Charles was flawless. He told stories about old Austin days that were completely made up but sounded so specific, people believed him. Preston suspects nothing too busy being the center of attention. Austin cornered me, said Preston's his model for success. Tomorrow's details: outdoor ceremony 4 p.m., reception 5:30, toasts around 6:15. Weather's perfect, clear, 82 degrees sunset during reception. Charles goes after family speeches before dancing. Last chance to back out, Dad. Truth isn't something you back out of. I'll record everything. I won't watch it live. Just take care of Austin after. He'll need you. Always. After we hung up, I tried sleeping. Couldn't. At 4 a.m., I walked Alfama's narrow streets. Safe at that hour, locals knew me, nodded as I passed. Guilt surfaced in the pre-dawn quiet. Was this about protecting Austin or punishing Blair? Honest answer, both maybe. But also 15 families losing $2.7 million. Suppliers not getting paid. Employees about to lose jobs when Preston's empire collapsed. This wasn't revenge, it was accountability. I returned home as sunrise painted the Tagus copper and gold. Texted Riley, "Whatever happens today, you and Austin will always have each other, and me when he's ready." The wedding day arrived. Riley sent photos throughout Blair in ivory silk Preston, in midnight blue Austin, proud beside them 200 guests witnessing perfection. The ceremony went flawlessly. Vows, rings, kiss, applause. Then came the reception, the speeches. Austin spoke first, praising Preston's vision and success. Then the floor opened for additional toasts. 6:14 p.m. Texas time, 12:14 a.m. in Lisbon. I was awake, but I wasn't watching, Riley would tell me later. Right now, at a winery an ocean away, Charles Waverly was standing in front of 200 people with a microphone in his hand. But first Austin spoke. Riley sent me the video afterward. My son stood at the microphone, emotional, sincere. Preston Montgomery represents everything I aspire to become. In less than 2 years, he's built an empire, 3 thriving restaurants, respected in the community, and now married to my mother, who deserves the world. He's shown me what real success looks like: confidence, vision, commitment. To Preston and Blair, may your partnership be as strong as your individual achievements. Applause, glasses clinking. Blair wiped tears of joy. Preston nodded, satisfied. When I watched it later, my chest ached for my son's innocence. And that's when a 72-year-old man most people didn't recognize stood and walked toward the microphone. What you're about to hear is the moment everything changed. Comment below, have you ever seen the truth destroy someone's carefully built facade? Because that's exactly what happened next. My son stood there praising a fraud. 200 guests were about to learn why. Quick note, what follows includes dramatized elements for storytelling impact. If that's not for you, feel free to stop here. But if you want the truth behind the facade, Lisa Pierce, the wedding planner. We have one more speaker, Mr. Charles Waverly, a family friend. A ripple of confusion who? But Lisa was smiling, Patrick nodding reassuringly from his vendor table. Charles rose from a table near the back, approached the microphone with unhurried authority. Impeccable gray suit, kind eyes. The presence of someone accustomed to boardrooms and courtrooms. He held the microphone, let silence settle professional technique. The room's attention locked onto him. He carried weight. Good evening, everyone. My name is Charles Waverly, and I've known families like this. Families who value appearances, success, beautiful weddings for many years. I wanted to take a moment to celebrate this union, but also to talk about something I believe is profoundly important: foundations. He paused, smiled warmly. Guests leaned in. Blair, you look absolutely radiant tonight. Preston, you've clearly built something impressive. 3 restaurants in 18 months, that's remarkable expansion. As someone who spent decades in business and law, I have to admit, it makes me curious. His tone shifted, still warm but probing. How does someone open 3 locations that quickly without traditional bank financing? I looked at the public records. You understand, caution is in my nature. Your corporate credit lines are completely maxed out. There are supplier liens filed. A former partner has a pending lawsuit seeking $2.7 million, alleging investor fraud. These aren't secrets, they're public documents. Anyone can find them. Guests began shifting uncomfortably. Phones emerged. But in my experience, most people don't look. We see the lifestyle, the confidence, the beautiful photos. We forget to ask about foundations. We forget that growth this rapid usually means one of 2 things: either extraordinary capital reserves or creative arrangements with other people's money. Blair's face froze. Preston's jaw clenched. Austin looked bewildered. I've seen this pattern before. It usually takes 3 to 6 months for the foundation to collapse completely. The investors, I believe there are 15 of them, mostly friends and family. They'll be the ones left when this facade comes down. A long pause. He looked directly at Blair. So I'd like to propose a toast. To Blair and her second chance at happiness. To Preston, whose empire looks magnificent from the outside. May your future be as solid as the foundations you've built it on. May you both receive exactly what you've invested in. Because in my experience, truth always surfaces. It's only a matter of time. He raised his glass. To truth and the courage to seek it. Silence complete suffocating. Then chaos. Guests pulled out phones, fingers flying across screens. Google searches lighting up faces in the twilight. Preston's face went scarlet. He moved toward Charles. Lisa rushed forward. Blair stood frozen, then ran toward the building, heels clicking on stone. Cameras, phones, capturing everything. Groomsmen exchanged confused glances. Austin stood there, his world tilting. My phone rang at 12:22 a.m. I stared at Blair's name for 3 rings. Answered. Her voice, trembling fury and panic braided together. You did this. You planted him. You destroyed. I let her finish. The accusations, the rage, the betrayal. When she finally ran out of words, I spoke quietly. Blair, I'm sitting on a balcony in Lisbon. It's past midnight. I don't know who that man is or why he said those things. But maybe someone finally asked the questions you should have asked before marrying him. Silence. Then a sound, half sob, half scream. The line went dead. I set the phone down and looked out at the Tagus River lights reflecting on dark water. 4,000 miles away, her perfect wedding was unraveling, and I felt nothing but relief. I didn't watch the video until the next morning. By then it had 500,000 views. 24 hours later, 3 million. The internet never forgets, and it never forgives. I woke at 7 a.m. Lisbon time on July 21st. Messages from Riley were waiting. It's everywhere. Every social media platform, everywhere. Current views, 487,000 and climbing. I opened the link she sent. A video posted by a wedding guest. Caption, this wedding toast just ended a marriage before it started. The video, Charles's entire speech audio professionally clear, thanks to the venue's acoustics. 3 minutes, 47 seconds. View count updating in real time. The comments were exploding. The way he said creative arrangements. Imagine searching your husband during the reception. This man chose truth over feelings, and I respect that. Blair's face at 2:18 when she realizes everyone's on their phones. May you receive exactly what you've invested in is the politest way to say good luck with that. By noon, Lisbon time, 1.2 million views. By evening, 3 million. Compilation videos appeared, most disastrous wedding speeches. Memes, Blair's frozen face, Preston's crimson fury, Austin's bewildered expression. Online forums. Let's find those public records Charles mentioned. News coverage, Austin, local stations, business blogs. Riley kept me updated on Preston's collapse. Within 24 hours, the FBI opened an investigation interstate fraud. Bank freeze all 3 restaurant accounts locked. The investor group emergency meeting retained counsel. Suppliers demanded immediate payment, threatened shutdowns. Former partner Marcus Webb amended his lawsuit, added evidence. Within 48 hours, restaurant staff, mass exodus 2 of 3 locations closed, employees unpaid. Preston's assets court order freezing them pending investigation. His social media deleted too late, everything archived everywhere. His attorney issued a statement, vigorously denying all allegations. Preston himself, no public appearances, not answering calls. Riley tracked Blair's situation too. Her real estate firm emergency meeting about the video. Clients 3 called to pause projects. Social media now private, but screenshots still circulating. Friends keeping distance, social exile in Austin's upper circles. Blair's response called Riley, panicked, blamed Graham. Riley's response, Dad's in Portugal, Mom. He didn't do anything. But you should have searched Preston before marrying him. The legal risk coming Preston had gifted Blair an SUV worth $68,000 a month before the wedding. Paid from investor accounts, traceable. The investors would sue to recover it. Blair would likely become a defendant. July 22nd, Austin called me. His voice completely different, small shaking. Dad, Austin. Preston's restaurants. They're under investigation. Federal charges. The lawsuit Charles mentioned, it's real. All of it. Silence. My firm called me in, asked about my relationship with Preston Montgomery. They've seen the video. Everyone's seen it. I'm in that video, Dad, praising him, calling him the model of success. I know. They're putting me on administrative leave pending review, questioning my judgment. My boss asked if I knew about financial irregularities before the wedding. What did you tell them? The truth. That I didn't know. That I should have asked questions but didn't. Long pause. You tried to warn me. You said verify check foundations. I called you bitter. You weren't ready to hear it then. I'm sorry, Dad. For everything. For not listening. For blaming you. For... His voice cracked. I know, son, I know. We talked for an hour. Austin asked about Lisbon, my health, my life. I was honest. I'm good. Better than good. I'm happy. That's good. You deserve that. I'm sorry it took me this long to see it. Plans Austin would visit Lisbon once things settled. Me, the door is always open. After we hung up, I stood on the balcony watching fishing boats return to harbor. The sun was setting, painting the Tagus amber and gold. My son was finally listening to me. Blair's perfect life was unraveling under scrutiny. Preston's empire was collapsing under its own weight. And me, I was 4,000 miles away, healthy, free, and finally at peace. Justice wasn't revenge. Justice was simply truth finally allowed to speak. 18 months later, July 20 to 25. I'm sitting on the same balcony where this story began. The Tagus River hasn't changed. The city hasn't changed. But everything else has. Preston Montgomery was federally indicted in September 2024. 17 counts, wire fraud, investor fraud, money laundering. His trial lasted 4 weeks in February 2025. Guilty on all counts. Sentenced in May to 12 years federal prison. No parole. His assets were liquidated. Investors recovered 31 cents on the dollar. He's currently at FCI, Bastrop, Texas, inmate number 4, 783-2-279. Blair was sued by the investor group in August 2024 for $385,000, the SUV, and gifts funded by fraud money. She defaulted on the house mortgage in September and sold it in November for $1.29 million. After paying off $890 in debt plus $147 in fees, she netted $253,000. Minus the lawsuit and legal fees, she ended up $194,000 in debt. She filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy in December. Her real estate license was suspended. She's living in Albuquerque now with her parents working retail at $18 an hour. Her social circle dissolved. She called Riley once in March asking for money. Riley said no. Austin went through administrative review at his firm and was cleared of wrongdoing, but his reputation took damage. He was transferred to logistics analysis, same salary, lower prestige. He started therapy in September, learning to recognize manipulation and build boundaries. He visited me in Lisbon in January. We spent a week together talking about Blair childhood patterns. He told me, I spent my whole childhood protecting Mom. Never asked if you needed protecting from her. In December, he met Nicole, a pediatric nurse. Different from anyone he'd dated before, genuine, grounded kind. He proposed in May and called me first. Will you help us plan a wedding in Lisbon? I said yes. Riley's thriving. 2 promotions this year, regional award for her forensic work. She calls weekly. We're solid. As for me, my health transformed completely. Blood pressure, 115/70. Weight down to 165 from 180. No chest pain in 18 months. I sleep 8 hours every night. My doctor said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. My days found their rhythm. I swim mornings, have breakfast at Pedro's Cafe. He's a close friend now. Afternoons, I paint. Sold 2 pieces last month. Evenings, I attend Portuguese classes. I'm conversational now, discussing philosophy and politics, not just ordering food. I built a small circle, expat friends, local artists, neighbors. My portfolio grew to 12,000, generating 58,000 yearly, covering my 42,000 in expenses comfortably. I feel no bitterness toward Blair, true indifference. No guilt about leaving, pride in my children, no romantic relationship by choice. I'm not lonely. I'm content. I learned being alone doesn't mean incomplete. Blair lost everything she traded me for. Preston lost freedom through his choices. Austin learned hard lessons and grew stronger. Riley stayed true to herself. People ask if I'm happy. The question seems too small. I'm at peace because I chose myself when everything said I shouldn't. Justice isn't revenge. It's truth finally heard. Being alone isn't loneliness when you're finally completely undeniably free. Looking back, I realize I spent 30 years making myself smaller, believing sacrifice meant love. I was wrong. God gave us one life, one body, one spirit, and when we let others destroy those gifts, we're not being noble. We're betraying our very purpose. Don't be like me. Don't wait for a heart attack to hear what your soul already knows. Don't waste decades hoping things will magically change. They won't. God helps those who help themselves, and sometimes the most faithful act is walking away from what's killing you. The lesson I learned too late verification isn't cynicism, it's wisdom. Whether it's a marriage, a business partner, or a promise, verify the foundation before building your life on it. Public records don't lie. Patterns don't lie. Your body's warnings don't lie. Listen to them. God speaks through truth, not through facades we desperately want to believe. These grandpa stories aren't just entertainment. They're warnings wrapped in narrative. Each one carries lessons I paid for with years of my life. That's why grandpa stories matter. Wisdom our generation earned the hard way, so yours doesn't have to. If this resonated with you, leave a comment. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more grandpa stories that challenge and transform. Thank you for staying until the end. I see you. Quick note, upcoming stories may contain fictionalized elements for educational purposes. If that's not for you, explore other content. But if you're ready for more truth and lessons, I'll see you in the next one.